On September 23, 2025, Andy Betts, a writer for the How to Geek website, powered on his Palm M105 Palm Pilot device for the first time in over 20 years. The device had sat in a desk drawer for 2 decades, and yet, once Betts put in 3 new AAA batteries, it powered up immediately. And while Betts, who was undertaking this experiment for the sake of an article for How to Geek, would admit that using the Palm Pilot interface felt like a nostalgic blast from the past, he was also surprised how strangely familiar it felt, at least partially because its software had been so influential on the smartphone designs that followed. Betts' particular model had first been released in 2001, but the original Palm Pilot Personal and Palm Pilot Professional PDA models were first launched in March of 1997. Manufactured by Palm Inc., a subsidiary of U.S. Robotics, the devices retailed for between $299 and $399, with additional costs for upgrade packages. Prices that seemed more than worth it to the tech heads eager to get their hands on such a groundbreaking device. Equipped with a stylus, and with a simple gray and black display showing a grid-based array of apps, the Palm Pilot allowed users access to an address book, calendar, notes, memos, a to-do list, and a calculator. And while devices were not Wi-Fi enabled, you could upload additional material by plugging the device into a computer. This included games, even a rather unimpressive version of Doom. For a brief moment, the Palm Pilot was seen as the coolest device a hip techie could own, but after only a few short years, the PDA market was squeezed and then outright destroyed by first Blackberries, and then eventually the full-on smartphone revolution, with both Apple and Android unveiling smartphones that were largely modeled on the operating system first developed by Palm, but also offering so much more. And while in his article Betts concluded that he liked the simplicity of the Palm Pilot device so much he would still happily buy one today, the overall history of the device is seen as a cautionary tale of how quickly the market for an in-demand piece of technology can collapse. And you can't help but feel bad for the Palm Pilot. iPhones are today seen as a surprisingly major part of the film industry, with movies like Tangerine and 28 Years Later actually being shot on iPhones, and dozens upon dozens of modern movies featuring iPhones as an important plot device. And even the largely forgotten BlackBerry was awarded a 2023 movie all about its development. But the short-lived Palm Pilot has enjoyed little of the same cinematic glory, at least until a recent big-screen reboot aimed for period piece accuracy by asking itself, what's the most obvious device we could use to show the audience this takes place in 1998? The year is 2021, and Screen Gems and Constantin Films International are ready to restart their recently concluded series of a popular video game adaptation, and in the process hopefully relaunch the next big Hollywood action horror franchise with Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City.
Welcome once again to Failure to Franchise, the show dedicated to some of Hollywood's most infamous mistakes, missteps, and misfires. This is Trev.
And I'm Chris, not to be confused with Chris Redfield, who was introduced as one of the 2 playable characters of the original Resident Evil movie from 1996, alongside his partner Jill Valentine, as a member of the Raccoon Police Department's Special Tactics and Rescue Services STARS unit. Chris and Jill fight against the Umbrella Corporation, a pharmaceutical company whose bioterrorism creates zombies and other organic weapons. Later, the pair became founding members of the United Nations Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance, BSAA. He also has a sister named Claire Redfield within the universe. And Trev, your name's Trevor, and not to be confused with Lisa Trevor, who was born to parents Jessica and George Trevor back in 1953. And it just so happens that her father was contracted by Oswald Spencer, as in the Spencer behind the Spencer Mansion from the original Resident Evil game from 1996, to design said mansion, which would ultimately house a secret underground laboratory. This lab would go on to become the genesis point of the T-virus, the thing that leads to the zombie madness that ends up going worldwide in the game series down the road. Lisa had no small part in this making all this happen, though not of her free will, because she was experimented on herself.
Chris, you might have missed your calling, Chris, as a Hollywood screenwriter.
I think so.
Yeah.
Whew, I just wanted to make that clear that we are not to be confused with these characters, and I needed to give some backstory before we talk about the movie proper. So, anyway.
Yeah. Probably pretty important, yeah. Hey, by the way, speaking of all that, Chris, hey, knock knock.
Who's there?
No, well, I guess yeah, it didn't seem like I was setting up a joke. You could just say hello, like
Okay.
knock knock.
Hello.
Let's do it. Let's we're professionals here.
Okay.
Let's take a moment, take a breather. Let's do take 2. All right.
Okay.
Knock knock. Trick resident Trevel.
Nice. We had to get there.
Yeah, we had to get.
My favorite too.
Look,
We record off this program called Clean Feed. By the way, Trev is in the U.S. I'm in Canada, and his screen name, you can edit them, and he came online as Resident Trevel. Or Trevel, which is something it took us this long to even say.
I know it just occurred to me, but yes, this is the second part of our theme month, which is of course Trick or Resident Trevel.
Yes.
Which is our Halloween, our spooky October theme dedicated to the Resident Evil film franchise as it exists so far. Not the animated ones. We're not getting into those, but everything live action up till now. And of course, last time we did one of our beloved Success to Series episodes, beloved by us, because it means we don't have to watch potentially shitty movies. Instead, we just celebrate the franchises we love. And last time we looked at the 6 Paul W.S. Anderson Resident Evil movies, starring Milla Jovovich as the iconic Resident Evil character Alice, not in the games. But we talked about why we unironically love that series, and then now we are moving on to the reboot of the series because Milla and Paul decided to wrap it up, but the production company. Well, obviously they didn't.
Yeah, they had children.
Yeah, they have children, so they did. You're right. And hey, good news for us because Ever Anderson is an actress herself, so the lineage will continue. Right. But yeah, no. The Capcom and the money folks in Hollywood decided that just because Paul and Milla are done, that doesn't mean they're going to stop exploiting Resident Evil. So we are here to look at the 2021 reboot, the attempted new start to the Resident Evil cinematic franchise, and that is Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City. Rolls right off the tongue. Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about this one?
Sure. This is written and directed by Johannes Roberts. He is a horror guy. He directed 47 Meters Down and its sequel, the Shark movies. I think I've seen both, and I think they're pretty fun. Either of them. I can't.
Yeah, I never saw the sequel. I think the first one's pretty good. I wasn't quite. I didn't quite get why everyone was like so over the moon about it, but I thought it had some style to it. Yeah.
You like your shark movies, so I
do like my shark
made sure
movies.
to put this in the notes. I made sure to put this in the notes.
Yeah.
And then he also directed sort of a reboot sequel for the Strangers sequel.
Yeah.
It is a direct sequel, right? Because I saw it many years ago, but I just can't really remember it. But The Strangers Prey at Night. So
which I do like quite a bit. Yeah,
yes,
I really like Prey at Night. Yeah, I think it's a very, very effective and fun sequel.
Yeah. And we got the horror guy because, of course, this is Resident Evil, right?
Yeah.
And the budget for this, they gave him $25 million. Oh, actually, they gave him $40 million and then slashed it.
Yeah.
As he's making the movie, they slashed it. So $25 million is the budget. Domestically, it made $17 million, and worldwide, it made $41.9 million. This was released in 2021. I always want to put a big asterisk about movies that came out around this time. Just, the COVID-19 pandemic is winding down and people are going back to the theater more and more, or less and less, right? So it's kind of, I don't want to throw this box office, under the, I don't want to throw it under the bridge.
The Umbrella Corporation train.
Yes. I said under the bridge, by the way. I meant to say under the bus.
Yeah. Well, you're just such a big Red Hot Chili Peppers fan that it can't help but crawl into your consciousness all the time.
Yeah, starring roles in Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, yes. Our two of our finest thespians, Flea, of course, and Anthony Kiedis, star of Point Break.
Yes. So this movie did pretty poorly, and especially in comparison to the Milla Jovovich movies, which we talked
about last time, were genuine hits, like all of them.
Yes. Yeah. All 6 movies made like $1.3 billion, so definitely go listen to that movie.
Well, together. We should not all 6 movies didn't make $1 billion individually. That'd be amazing. But
yes. Okay. Yes.
If you or I had anything to say about it, they would have.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, this one is squarely based on the games, and I say that with gumption, because the other 6 movies are so far on their own path that it's split the fandom right down the middle for those movies. So again, go listen to that episode, Success to Series, where we talk about those. But this one is very much focused on the first and second games, Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2 from 1996 and 1998, respectively. So I wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, that was kind of the modus operandi of this one, right? And even how they kind of were marketing it. Like, we're finally, don't worry, people, we're finally doing the games. We listen to you. Like, but again, an odd thing to even get kind of defensive about, considering how successful the other ones were. But but as you said, there always was that contingent of fans who were kind of like, well, I don't know, these aren't really doing the games, you know. And we talked about that in our episode, how they're more like Paul W.S. Anderson's mad vision of what he thought the games could be or something. I don't know. Who knows what's going on in that wild mind of his? But he just took some iconography and some basic ideas and did his own thing. And then this is very much like, okay, we're giving you the game adaptation you want. So well, I guess we'll talk, and obviously we'll get to whether that's like the right way to go or how they handled it effectively. But I think I'm glad you did point out the 2021 release date thing, though, because it isn't, you know, obviously we'll talk about how we feel about the movie, but that'll always be like a mystery of the movie, right? Would this have played any better, or potentially, I don't know, maybe even worse if it had come out at a different time? It's hard to say. I do remember too, even for 2021 standards, I kind of feel like this movie arrived with like no fanfare. Like, it just seemed like it was suddenly out one week with like barely any marketing. I don't know if you kind of felt that way too. Maybe there's a marketing blitz up in Canada. I don't know. But
I agree with that. And I was going to say it a little later, but I'll just say it right now. In 2021, there was another big video game adaptation reboot that came out that we will actually not have to talk about, and is tangentially related to the pre-production for this movie. And that is Mortal Kombat from 2021. So that's a movie that did arrive with like major fanfare. I remember like making a date night of it and renting it and eventizing the Mortal Kombat reboot. It sucked and I hated it, but it was an event, and this one was like, it just premiered with a thud. So I actually do agree with you, and I wonder why. I wonder if. See, I don't want to kind of bury the lead or nothing, but like I wonder if because they had so many issues making it and tweaking it that they were just like, fuck it, dump it, and then we'll see what happens. And then also because this came out not too far off of the final chapter, which was kind of surprising. I had forgotten about this because the pre-production for this movie even took place while the final chapter was in theaters, which is like kind of crazy to think. Like, they were already like, okay, we got to get another one out of these, but
they were like hanging back as like Paul was like filming the final scenes, and like, come on, we need these like, you know, sets, Paul. let's get out of here. Yeah,
all the stitching of the logos, like the umbrella logos, they just took off everybody's costumes. Okay, before we get into the pre-production of this movie, when there is a film with such a respectable and very popular IP related to it, you know, we always want to kind of test each other, like our litmus tests on each other of like what does this series mean to us? We did with like Street Fighter earlier this year. We did a lot of video games this year.
Well, that's the hot new thing now, right? Superheroes are dead. Video games are in. So we're like on the cusp of, you know, we're men of the people. That's what we always say.
And we also don't like making fun of actors. That's something else we like to say.
Which we will not do at all during this.
No, definitely not. Trev, I'll throw it to you first. Resident Evil, the franchise. Technically 8 mainline games. 9 is coming out next year, Requiem. Bunch of games in between. The franchise starts in 1996, ongoing. Like, where does your fandom start and end?
Yeah, I mean, you might have gleaned this from the previous episode, but like when you talk to me about Resident Evil, more likely I'm going to want to talk about the Milla movies, but that doesn't mean I'm a total neophyte with the game series. Perhaps not surprisingly, you mentioned it as me being like the horror guy, and you know that my favorite movie of all time is Not Living Dead, and in particular, I'm a huge zombie genre fan. Yeah. And that was like even more true in like the late 90s and early 2000s, before the later like return of the zombie boom kind of made me and everyone else a little sick of it, you know. But like Resident Evil hit at just the right time, where I was like, you know, still a teen, and like, you know, at that point, like just trying to find like all the gruesome cool zombie stuff. And then this awesome game came out that everyone was talking about. I was like, oh, this is like so influenced by the Romero movies and everything. So of course I went and played that first game and had the same experience that everyone else did, where it was like, holy shit, this game is terrifying. This game is so scary to play, but so fun. You know, I'm sure if we have younger listeners, and I'm sure we do, because, you know, the kids love us, but and you love the kids,
no rebuttal.
But if you go back and like watch the clips of like that first version of the first game, it's very funny to think that we're all so terrified by that, because it's like, it's just so choppy looking, and obviously the cutscenes are infamously bad, and like the little like the film scenes they did at the beginning are hilarious. But that game was so scary and so fun. And then rolling right along into the sequels, loved Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3. I definitely was playing those, and then the last kind of big gaming system, I think I said this before in previous episodes, because my gaming tendencies did die down, which I've been on record about. And the last big system I had, well, no, I did have a PS3 just because I wanted it as a Blu-ray player, but I didn't get many games for it. But the last like system I had in total, where I was just buying it because I wanted the system, was a GameCube. And with that, I definitely had Resident Evil 0, which I know is kind of a maligned entry, but I played that one all the way to the end as well. And then Resident Evil 4, which I think you can tell me if I'm right about this, because I'll just say Resident Evil 4 is kind of where it ends for me. I loved that game, and I remember at the time that being kind of like, everyone's like, oh my god, this is like this series has found a new creative energy, right? That's the Las Plagas one, like Leon, and that's in that like small little village. It just felt like so different. Like you play a long point into that game before you even think of, is there any Umbrella like connection to this at all? You know, it just felt like a new story, and it was just like, these like crazy villagers with chainsaws, and it was just like such a different kind of horror. Even like the visual style change, where you were finally behind the shoulder, which made it a lot easier to play. You know, but I loved Resident Evil 4, and it's almost like I loved it so much that I kind of felt like, that's good, I'm good. You know, I could walk away from there, and also I just kind of fell out of gaming. I think, because I think you've mentioned this, in my head, is it accurate to say that Resident Evil 5 kind of supplanted Resident Evil 4 then as the overall fan favorite? Because that's what it felt like to me. But Resident Evil 4 at the time, I just remember being such like a watershed moment.
It is. You're right about that. Resident Evil 4 is like, that's when Resident Evil like oh, man, I'm gonna get in trouble too by the fandom probably, but I'm pretty sure like that is the moment that it peaked. Resident Evil 5 changed it a little bit more. It was cool that you could play as Chris Redfield versus Leon Kennedy, and it got really action oriented, and Resident Evil 5 looked incredible because it was on the Xbox 360. So those two are, I'm pretty sure, considered like the best.
Okay.
4 and 5. 6 less so, and then 7 changed the formula even more and continues on. So
what's the one that has that like big giant woman in it that all the pervs online want to have like sex with and want to be crushed between her thighs or whatever? And
that's Resident Evil Village. That's number 8.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's cool that you went all the way through to like 4. Honestly, like that's pretty sweet. I actually didn't realize that. I thought maybe you played the first couple, and
and of course Codename Veronica and stuff like that. And then there was like that like first person shooter one, which was that was like bad. But
I think that's Umbrella Chronicles. That was on Rails, right?
Yeah.
I think that came out for the Wii, so you can you had to shoot the nunchuck around or whatever, the Wiimote. So I dabbled with the first couple, mostly because I didn't have a PlayStation. So
I should say I didn't either. I had to go over to friends' houses to play it, but I was specifically going to friends' houses just to play this game. That's
totally
how big of a moment it was. You know?
And it was scary. It was. I'm a little younger than you. You're more of a bitch though, so it's all good. But it was scary, and you know, I think what the coolest mechanic of it was the stationary camera. You know, like there was a fixed camera usually in the corner of every room. So it added to, I guess, the vibe that you're running for your life. But then also if you turn the corner and then the camera changed, it was like really disorientating. disorienting.
It was
right?
it was good at jump scares in
Yes.
like a video game sense, because of that.
Yeah. There's another franchise game called Dino Crisis that stole that. I played Dino Crisis a lot as a kid as well. But again, the first couple games, very cool, very influential, obviously. The original series was, it was called Biohazard in Japan. And I guess I would say, especially the beginning, it kind of, I don't know, made games popular in the sense of like being cinematic, like for a mature audience too. Like games are always, especially back then in like the 90s, right? People are thinking, Super Mario Brothers and stuff like that. But then something like Resident Evil comes out and it's for adults, like squarely for adults. It's rated M, it's rated mature, it's bloody, it's gory, it's swearing, it's a whole thing.
It's also one, and I'm sure this is where the gamers are going to like bring out their pitchforks, like the villagers in Resident Evil 4, and come for me, because I'm sure I'm wrong about this. Because I know I'm wrong about this, but it still felt to me like one of the series that was the first for me that really sold me on the idea of how expansive and developed a game series like continuity and mythology could become over time.
Yeah.
Because the first one does for a while. You just feel like, oh, we're these cops going into this mansion. There's zombies. That's kind of simple. But then even playing the first game, you get more and more revelations about what this corporation that caused them, what they're doing, and then that actually gets very, very complicated as you get into the sequels when you learn this like very intense mythology about the background of this corporation. And then, as we said, to even get to the point of like the Last Plaga stuff and be like, well, this has nothing to do with Umbrella, right? Oh no, it does. Like Umbrella's kind of this like all expansive evil all over the world who's dabbling into so many different things, and like even just like a character like Wesker, who you think is dead at one point and then returns and becomes even a more complicated character. Just like that's when you say the cinematic thing, that's what I think of for that series. I know there was obviously things like Final Fantasy and other series that had like kind of ongoing continuities or at least sequels here and there, or like Zelda, of course. But the fact that Resident Evil was telling such a kind of big complex story across multiple games, and what actually I think I mentioned this last time too briefly, but part of that for me and part of what shows that off was there was this great series of novelizations of the games that I really liked at the time by S.D. Perry. That might be like, I think that might be like a pen name of somebody. I'm not sure S.D. Perry is actually even a real author. That might be like multiple authors combined into one. But yeah, I read like those books too and just found it fun to even read the games in like novel form at the time because the mythology was actually good. I think the storyline of the games is actually pretty fascinating.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I also played Resident Evil 4, by the way. Played on GameCube. I rebought it for the Wii. I remember the first time I actually didn't beat it until I got the Wii version, because if you remember correctly, you had to really plan out your saves with the typewriters.
Yeah.
Well, I fucked myself. And then I was like, you know what? We're done with this game. So I remember like not going back to it for a couple of years because I was just so pissed off that I had to like replay hours and hours because I totally screwed myself and backed myself into a corner. But RE4 is awesome. And then RE5, I mentioned it last episode that one is my favorite just purely because it holds a special place. You could play co-op on that one, and I played with a friend from out of town. He had recently, one of my best friends, he had recently moved away, and we got that game to play and keep in touch on a regular basis kind of thing. So RE5 was just awesome, and then Chris Redfield is so good in that. There's an infamous scene in that game where you punch a giant boulder that fans still talk about today. So that RE5 was great. I skipped RE6. I came back for RE7 playing Biohazard. That was when it changed to first-person perspective. Okay. So the last two games and the number 9 Requiem that's coming out next year are first-person point of view. So
that's
they
kind
changed.
of disappointing to hear, actually, because it just feels like it's. I thought there was something very unique and like it felt like almost trademarked Resident Evil to a certain degree to kind of have that like behind the shoulder. Well, again, I guess only a couple of the games had that, but
that's kind of what is interesting about the series and to see how much it's changed over the years, because it had that fixed camera, then it went to third person over the shoulder, and then it's gone to first person. Yeah. And it's interesting that they're playing with the formula so much. And I'll tell you, it does add to the scares for obvious
Yeah.
reasons.
I guess that's true. Every time I see these like TikTok videos of people losing their minds playing video games, it's usually a first-person game, of course. So
Yes. So like, and obviously, in the last few years, gaming technology is trying to get VR going. I'm not a huge fan of VR. I think it's a stupid thing. But
well, you saw Virtuosity when you were a kid. You've been afraid of it ever since.
Which one's that?
The killer, like Russell Crowe is like the virtual reality like serial killer who comes into the real world.
Was it meant to be a franchise?
No, thankfully.
So yeah, RE7 is cool for that. Very fun, very good. But I skipped Village. That big bitch, she scared me.
Really? Okay. You weren't turned on like all the rest of the gamers?
No, I'm not. I'm not one of those kind of guys.
No shame. No shame.
No shame. We don't want to kink shame, but no.
Can I ask you something?
Sure,
I'm just curious now. Have you gone, because I know they exist, have you gone back and played any of like the remakes of the first games? Because I know they've done those, which is to me is like kind of as like someone who's out on gaming now, that's kind of like a fascinating concept. The idea that they're just going back and like redoing the games, but to make the graphics like look more modern. And I do wonder, I guess I have two questions. Have you played them? And if whether you have or not, from your understanding, if you haven't, is it really just the exact same game, or do they take the opportunity to change like, the gameplay and the dynamics and what happens too? So
out the gate, I've never played the remakes. So that's one thing. Like I said, I played RE4 twice. and not by my own accord, basically. But from all accounts, they're well made. But a remake is different because like there's sometimes just like you get the game again, right?
Yeah.
But
that's like what I think what I was concerned about with the idea of those.
Yeah, these remakes I'm pretty sure are more in line with the Final Fantasy one, where it's like a top to bottom upgrade in not just graphics but also controls. I think people forget that modern controls are just very different from when like even RE4 came out in 2005. It's just very different with the analog sticks and other things. But I believe the most recent one with RE4, which came out, I think 2023, so 2 years ago, that one is a top down. But they're not just resolution upgrades. Sometimes they are. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes they are. And those are the ones that I just don't even talk about at all. But like, there's been rumors of like a Knights of the Old Republic remake, like a top down. Who it might be lost to Disney at this point, but yeah, a remake it's really man, you know what, you gotta do your research to use that stupid phrase. If you're looking into a remake of a game, you gotta do your research to make sure it's not
surprising to hear that they've gone all the way up to 4 with the remakes. Like, because to me it just felt like I could understand wanting to remake the first 3 because and especially 1 and 2 because obviously you go back and as you said you look at them on a visual level and they just feel much jankier than modern games, but I feel like the visuals of 4 to me would still hold up today. But I almost feel like now they're stuck in this like, are they just stuck in this weird pattern where by the time like Resident Evil 10 comes out, will they have to be like, well, we have to remake 7 and 8 now? Well, just
honestly, maybe
does it ever end?
Because I'm looking here, the Resident Evil 1 remake came out in 2002, and then the 2 remake came out in 2019, 3 remake 2020. 4 2023. So they pumped a few out in the last few years, but I mean, I don't know. I haven't checked Capcom's stock in the last few years.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's that reason too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's about all I know of the game. Like I know.
I should also say too. I will just point out just to like further speak to like the bit of fandom I had is I did have even when I was younger when the first few games were coming out, I was buying like I can't remember if they were McFarlane or some other company, but I had like a Nemesis action figure and a Tyrant action figure just because they were fucking so cool.
Maybe
like
Square Enix. I know Square Enix maybe did those.
Maybe, but like I mean, obviously those are just such great character designs. Yeah. So those are like the kind like I don't have them anymore. Like my again stupidly I will sometimes throw that stuff out and then like just 5 years will pass and you'll go like, actually that'd be kind of cool to still have my shelf, but yeah, but totally. I definitely remember having that Nemesis one, especially with the rocket launcher and everything.
Yep. Okay, the movie Welcome to Raccoon City. Like I said, pre-production took place in early 2017 while The final chapter was still in theaters. Originally, they looked at one Greg Russo to write this film. He went on to write the Mortal Kombat movie, like I had mentioned before. Isn't it interesting that we cannot escape Mortal Kombat? Hey?
Yeah.
Honestly, all these discussions of all these video game movies we've talked about all year, it circles back to, the IP / successful whatever. Like, I don't know, everything keeps coming back to that. So it's just so interesting.
Well, you and I keep advocating that is still maybe like the high watermark of like even the, again, the PG-13 aspect, fine, but beyond that, it's still to me like that's like that's an adaptation of a game. That like just gets what the game is and is like a really fun movie, and what you want from the game is more or less there on screen. So yeah, it makes sense that it kind of circles back to that. Yeah.
Well, his vision for this new reboot was going to draw inspiration from Resident Evil 7, the first-person one that I was talking about. He wanted to make it scary, isolating, a feeling of loneliness, right? But the studio Constantine, who produced all the Milla movies, felt that that game was too recent. Mm-hmm. And I kind of want to focus in on that. And I don't know if this is the right time to talk about nostalgia. Yeah. But I do find
it weird. You want to talk about nostalgia with this movie? Okay, go off, I guess. I don't know. I don't see the connection. I don't see the connection, but okay.
I was going to wait. But isn't it interesting that Constantine knows that they want to adapt go back to basics of the game, right? They really want to look at the source material. And then this guy, to his credit, says, well, let's look at the newest one. Like, let's hit, like, strike while the iron's hot kind of thing. And Constantine was still not good enough. Go further. Go back in time further. So much go back in time that they actually brought up the idea of time travel.
It was very funny for Resident Evil. So I kind of have, I hear what you're saying. I kind of have mixed feelings about that question, though, because I definitely hear what you're saying. And I think you and I both kind of feel the same way about nostalgia bait stuff, and I think you and I have also both admitted there are times where you fall for it too.
Oh sure, of course,
where for the right franchises, anybody will be a nostalgia whore, But obviously there is too much of it in our filmmaking and just our like cinematic world now. But
especially in 2021, like that's right in the crux of post Endgame, full on. My
only pushback on that though is, going back to something I said a moment ago, is that the Resident Evil series actually does have a pretty complex mythology, and to start a new cinematic franchise, like a reboot franchise, and say let's start at Resident Evil 7, that might be too complicated for an audience, because there's going to be like a lot of place setting that has to happen in the movie to like set up that that world. So I guess I understand. You can call it like a cowardly move, or you can call it like a basic bitch nostalgia move, but I also understand the creative kind of safety of saying, actually, we still do need to go back and make those first games because we didn't really do them with this previous series, So like maybe it is just that. I don't know. So I don't know the answer to that. Like
it does have like a mansion family type of storyline too. So there's something involved that is similar to the old games. And then I think that's the reason maybe why James Wan was attached to this too, to produce. Again, more of a haunted house type of feel, but I know what you mean though. I totally get it.
I will say, with James Wan producing, I could definitely see Patrick Wilson as like an awesome Wesker. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, more Patrick Wilson.
Yeah, and everything. Yeah, more Patrick Wilson everywhere. Yes.
Okay, well, the Greg Russo quits. And so does James Wan. They leave.
He's like, time travel, I'm out of here.
Yeah. Totally. So they're gone, and they bring on Johannes Roberts, and this guy comes firmly in the place of, we are making a film based on the first and second games. Obviously, he got the memo for his pitch. I liked this quote from him. What I loved about the games was that they were just scary, and that's a lot of what I wanted, that atmosphere. It's raining constantly, it's dark, it's scary. Raccoon City is a rotten character. I like that. And I get hints of that he's going for with this film, which we'll talk about. But I do like the idea of I like the idea of Raccoon City. I hate that. Hold on. Let me take that back. I do hate when people say, "Oh, that
New York is the fifth character." Did you know that New York is the fifth character in Seinfeld? Did you know that?
Yeah. So I do hate that. So I recognize my hypocritical nature there. However, I think he gets the idea that Raccoon City is like gross and dark and murky and scary. Like it's like how I love The Dark Knight, but Gotham City is just Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Chicago, isn't it?
Or Chicago. When is it Pittsburgh? In Dark Knight Rises, I think.
Regardless. It's Pittsburgh.
Regardless. It's not Gotham in either of those movies.
Yeah.
So, anyway, just wanted to throw that out there.
There's a lot of like urban renewal after the events of Batman Begins, but before Dark Knight, to just completely change the way the city looks.
Yeah, totally gentrified. Okay.
Yeah, why isn't Batman doing anything about that? Rich asshole. He's pro gentrification, this billionaire.
Yeah, 100%. He also took inspiration from John Carpenter films for this one. So he was, which again, I'm a fan of those words too.
Well, you got it, when any horror filmmaker is like, who I'm going to try and emulate? John Carpenter. Like, okay, good. Yeah, it's good on you. Of course you are, but at the same time, you're probably not John Carpenter. But. There are a lot of movies I love that do a very effective job of like aping that John Carpenter style. So it is a style that I like to see people aim for, of course.
Same.
Yeah.
But like I'm saying, very focused on the games. I'm just going to rattle off some characters that are in this movie. So Resident Evil heads can hear it. I'm sure they saw this movie already.
I'll go take a breather here since this might take a while.
Hey, calm down. Okay, save your fucking thoughts for 10 minutes from now. Okay. Claire Redfield, Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Albert Wesker, Leon Kennedy, Chief Irons, William Birkin, Ada Wong does show up. That's a lot of characters. Mm-hmm. A lot. That's a lot of names of characters. That's what I guess I'll say. It's a lot of, hey, you know that guy. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, the production of this movie was, I don't want to say riddled with like actual on the day filming issues, but definitely pre and post. Mm-hmm. So pre-production, the script is altered over a couple of years before going into production. They remove a ton of CG-heavy action scenes.
We mentioned it was originally supposed to be a $40 million movie, and it originally had a $40 million script. A very, very ambitious script with tons of monsters and things,
And even more cast. So you made the joke about that we have too much. Well, guess what? You would have had more.
Yeah.
So the budget's cut. Changes are made so late that even concept art done is finished and ready to go. Doesn't see the light of day. There's a certain connection in the film between the Redfield siblings with the villain that is not in the original script, so that's changed later on. Mm-hmm. A bunch of the characters are actually written completely different before going into production. And a bunch of, like I said, other action scenes are cut down or changed pre and post. So you're adapting, I guess, the first and second games, which I don't know how long it takes to beat both of those games, but I'll say it takes longer than an hour and 40 minutes, which is the runtime of this movie.
Which is doing both of them jammed together. Yeah.
Yes. Half of the movie takes place at the Spencer Mansion. Half of it takes place at the RPD police department. So,
it's the kind of movie where, again, we haven't said our thoughts yet, but when you hear that, you just have to. I will for anything we're about to say. We should put the necessary caveat, and this is true of a lot of the kind of movies we look at, that I don't think ultimately what we're seeing represents the movie Johannes Roberts thought he was signing on to make initially.
Agreed.
Right? Like this is not the film he set out to originally make. Now that's not to say he's not proud of this and he didn't make the best he could with what he was doing, and we will talk about that. But I think I kind of feel for him when you hear that, about how it's one of those things where while he's making the movie, the budget is cut and the script completely changes, and now they're necessitating storyline changes to try and streamline the plot gaps, and it's just got to be one of those ones where I'm sure he was just getting more and more like, oh my god, what is happening here? Especially coming off as something like Strangers Prey at Night or even like 47 Meters filmmakers down, which were, I'm sure, just so much more simplistic in their storytelling, and so much, I doubt he faced the same challenges on those projects.
Yeah, like I would say, even before we give our true thoughts, like I don't blame this guy. I think he set out to do. I guess he set out. He got the memo, like I said before. He knew what he signed on to do. Back to basics, video game, but he was totally screwed.
Yeah,
like it does feel like one of those times that Constantine kind of screwed him.
Yeah, we can still talk later about if what he signed on to do was the right idea anyways.
Sure.
But, like, that's still different than whether he was allowed to do his vision. And obviously you always root for the filmmaker to get to, fulfill their original vision. So, yeah.
Cutting your budget down from 40 to 25 is crazy.
Yeah. Although the movie only ended up making 40. So, in retrospect, I guess they seem kind of smart.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Okay. All right. Let's get to it. We're beating around the bush. Okay, right on the other side of this.
What are you doing out hitchhiking on a night like this, anyway? Used to live here, you said. Raccoon City. Better you than me.
Watch out!
Honey, we need to go now.
Lock the gates. Claire, why are you back here?
This whole town's been poisoned. If we don't contain this, it could threaten the whole world.
Shall we go?
Come on.
What were Umbrella doing here?
They were experimenting on him.
This is my life's work. I'm not giving it to anybody.
Vickers, this is Chief Irons. Pick up your damn radio!
Umbrella is gonna destroy this place.
I just really want to get out of this town.
September 30th, 1998, Raccoon City. With the memories of a troubled childhood at the Umbrella Corporation's Raccoon City orphanage still haunting her mind, Claire Redfield returns to her now decaying hometown. However, as Claire reunites with her estranged brother Chris, the semi-abandoned city suffers an outbreak of the deadly T-virus, an engineered bioweapon developed by the Umbrella Corporation. Now, with the city plunged into chaos, and Umbrella working to contain the situation, Claire, Chris, and a bunch of other video game characters have until 6 a.m. to escape this madness.
Oh, I know you love a ticking clock. Chris, I'll go first on this one. This was a first time watch for me. I believe you saw this around the time it came out originally. But
I did.
For me, this was like a brand new watch. And I want to talk about that briefly first. I want to explain why I didn't bother to see this, given that we just spent a previous episode talking about how much I unironically love the previous six.
You were busy in Milla Jovovich's yard there.
Yeah, those binoculars, finally come my Amazon order. No, that does play a big part in it, though, right? This to me was kind of like there was like a level of disappointment that the Milla movies had ended, and this felt like I think there was a layer of, because it came with such little fanfare, because it did feel like it was being dumped, and then because I knew they were aiming for this whole like, well, this is finally the games. It did feel to me like I kind of had this sense, and then I saw the trailer, and we'll talk about what we think about how the movie looks and these performances and everything in general. But I mean, if you just go watch the trailer, there was definitely, I remember at the time there was a lot of like kind of comments on like is this the cosplay Resident Evil movie? And that's kind of how it looked to me at the time. So it did feel like, oh, is this just a lazy retreat back into the most obvious kind of Resident Evil movie to make? So I didn't bother with it. And then basically what I heard, the overall, critical response, I was kind of like, okay, I just felt like no pull to it. And then ultimately I knew I was going to do this podcast. So I was like, well, I'll watch it someday for this, And yeah, my thoughts in this movie kind of boil back down to a conversation we were having in the last episode about we tried to figure out why, we usually talk about the importance of like fealty to subject matter and why we were so lenient towards what Paul W.S. Anderson was doing with that series, where he's just like he's treating the IP and the original source material like dirt, right? He's just like he's being so disrespectful to it to a certain degree, and yet we love it. And we kind of came down to this idea that, well, I think what we love about it is that we are seeing this like this mad vision of this like actual kind of auteur who is just like, saying like, this is my bizarre interpretation of the source material. So whatever you want to say about those movies, they have an identity, right? That identity may be insane. That identity may be like gloriously stupid, but it's an identity. I think this movie feels identityless. I think this movie feels like it has like kind of nothing under the hood other than trying to replicate things from the games, although that's really complicated too, because we'll talk too about how it's a strange thing where they're trying so hard to be the games more accurately, but also then making weird like deviations. But in general, pushing those deviations aside, I do want to talk about them, of course, because I'm confused by a lot of them. But in general, I think on a visual level and on just like what it's going for level, I think this movie is just kind of too much like, I mean, you already said it, how many characters are in it and everything. This movie is too much of like a, hey, look at that. You like that, right? Hey, look at that. You like that, right? It's like, it's a fest of that. And I wanted, before the break, we said how we don't want to put the blame on Johannes Roberts. I think that's very, very important to say, because I will say, I think this movie looks pretty cool. I think they're like, in terms of like, he's a guy who knows how to do a stylish shot. He's very good at like filling out a widescreen and like just a lot of cool like split diopter shots in this, and just like cool like widescreen imagery. It's too dark sometimes, but in general, I think he can frame a really effective, cool horror sequence. But like some of the casting in this, we don't like making fun of. We don't like making fun of actors. This movie has a CW vibe. I'll say that
a cavalcade of bad.
That really sinks it too. So yeah, I would say this movie ended up being about what I kind of expected it to be from what I'd initially heard, and that is, it's just kind of disappointing. And the last thing I'll say is, again, going back to the conversation about like, the merits of adaptation versus reinterpretation. This movie definitely does show the risks you run with adaptation too, where when you're just trying to do the thing again, but you're trying to do two of the things jammed into one, you're just causing more problems for yourself. I think this is a movie that would make no sense to anybody who has not played the games, because it's not bothering to explain a lot of itself. It's operating under the assumption that only the video game fans are going to watch it, and I think that's a terrible, terrible thing for a movie to do. So, yeah, that's how I feel. I'd say no good.
I'm right there with you. This is my second viewing, and my thoughts have not changed. After 4 or 5 years after making those Milla movies, I admire that they're like, okay, let's get back to basics with the games and not replicate those movies, but in those 4 to 5 years, you got to do something. Like, you got to do something with this, rather than just splatter a bunch of references and iconography on the screen. There's clear reverence for the source material in the games.
Sure.
But at what cost?
Yeah. Almost to a detriment, right?
Yes, that's what I kept asking myself. And, I can tell this is one of these moments where I don't recognize everything, but the movie wants me to. Mm-hmm. So I can tell it's constant Easter eggs, even if I don't recognize all of them. You know what I mean? Like, the movie lacks, you said identity, I'm going to say vision. It's just, it doesn't, like, what is the goal of this movie? I'm not really sure. There's a mystery of the Umbrella Corporation that doesn't get treated like a mystery. At the end of the movie, there's no new information. Nobody finds out anything about what's going on. There's no resolutions.
Including the audience.
Yeah, 100%. And I watched this with my fiance, Brittany. we watched the Milla ones together. She likes those movies a lot. And we watched this one. I paused it a bunch and just looked at her and I said, how does anybody know what the fuck is going on in this movie if they have not, like, if they don't know the games or played them or knows friends that know the games? Like
Yeah.
Brittany's a gamer. She's not huge into horror games, but she knows games. Like, she knows video games more than even I do. And I mean, I was going to ask who is this for? And I know who it's for. It's for the hardcore fans of the games. And you know, in the Success to series we did, Paul W.S. Anderson has stated he did not want to make a horror movie for just a small singular audience because he felt it would alienate a global population, and he was proven right.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know the objective. Everything is really rushed and boring and put together. There's no substance to this movie. And especially with all these characters, they are just pure caricatures, purely. Mm-hmm. They are in name only. You don't know. In the beginning of this podcast, I rattle off all that bullshit, right? For my intro. That's never like stated in this movie.
No.
That Lisa Trevor mutant chick shows up, and you think it's like a dream sequence or a ghost, and then it shows up 20 years later or whatever the hell it is. And if I didn't read who Lisa Trevor is in the games, she's meaningless to you as the viewer.
Yeah.
And
it's the word. Go ahead. Yeah.
No. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's the worst kind of storytelling, right? Because it's a combination of. I feel like a lot of it, they're doing that thing where they're like, "Don't worry, we'll give the answers next time."
Yes.
But you can never. You obviously, as this podcast and this episode proves, you can never assume there's going to be a next time. So please don't do that.
Yeah.
But then some of it is also just like it just feels like it's just missing storytelling. I made this comment in our Success to Series episode where I said, for all the guff people give Paul W.S. Anderson, I mentioned how I think he's actually really, really, he doesn't get enough credit for how good he is at like effectively creating a simple, cinematic structure, right? And I know that sounds like the faintest of praise, but this is the kind of movie that proves to me why I think that's important praise. Because say what you will about that first Resident Evil, maybe you don't think it's the best movie in the world, but that movie starts showing how the T-virus gets out. And then later we have a scene where, the Colin Salmon character tells Alice about how this is what the Red Queen has done. This is why the Red Queen shut down the hive. This is what the Red Queen's doing now. So it actually justifies everything, right? You understand what is happening for the rest of the movie. This movie, Welcome to Raccoon City, is doing the first two games. So obviously it's about an outbreak of the T-virus and zombies in Raccoon City. But I'm sure you've watched it twice now. I'm sure you noticed both times, Chris. It never tells you how that outbreak started.
No,
why is this stuff happening? Like, what happened? What caused this? Like, what was the inciting incident? That is just not there. And that's not the kind of thing you would answer in the next movie. That's just the kind of thing that's like they like fucking forgot to do. It's just like
yeah, like that's like just basic plotting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you started at point B, going to part C, but you forgot part A.
Yeah.
No, I 100% with you. And going into that, we're going to reference, obviously, the Milla movies, more than we probably want to, but Milla Jovovich's Alice is an audience surrogate in that first movie. Because let's just compare this to that first movie, right? Like, wherever the series went, it went. But that first movie, we said in the last episode that it is like the perfect kind of franchise starter. For a lot of the reasons we talk about pro or against in this podcast, that did it right, obviously.
It's also, can I just quickly say, I don't know if this is what you're about to get to, but I think this might be a compliment to what you're about to say. It's also oddly more respectful of the original video game series than this one is, right? Because this one is trying to do the first two games, but as we said, and we'll talk about these in a moment, making all these like weird changes. Whereas that first Milla movie, at least, obviously this is not true of the sequels, but that first Milla movie could be put in the same continuity as the games, and it doesn't actually like mess with any of that.
Totally.
So yeah.
Yes. I think, okay, yeah, so where I was getting with it is related to what you're saying. So I'm going to try to do some gymnastics here, so bear with me. But Alice is the audience surrogate, okay?
Yeah.
She's an amnesiac, which is perfect. Because as the audience, I'm like, and especially that she's an unknown character. I do not know who that character is, fandom or not. I can't give the Alice character shit. Because I've never seen this character before. But she is leading me through the movie, asking the questions, figuring out the mysteries, yada yada. Things are revealed to me throughout the runtime that as an audience member I require. Now, in Welcome to Raccoon City, it gives me all my favorite characters. Okay? All at once. And as the game fan, I'm like, fucking rights. I get to see the Redfields. I get to see Leon. Oh my god. Leon is a moron in this movie.
So weird.
Dude, it's so weird because Leon Kennedy, as we just said, Resident Evil 4 is like, that's the game that everybody talks about. That even Trev, Mr. I don't play video games, played Resident Evil 4. Leon Kennedy is like the guy. So I watched this movie. They change him. His visual look, whatever. Okay, whatever. Fine by that. But he's a charisma vacuum. Okay, he's also never scared about anything that's going on. He's which I hate. You know that I hate that maybe the most out of movies like this, when characters don't react to fantastical shit. But he's such a bozo. He's playing a rookie cop at the RPD. But he's like sleeping through tragedies. He can't, like, he's a bozo. And Leon Kennedy in the game is fucking awesome. So then in my head, I'm thinking, if I'm putting on my fandom hat, I'm mad at you, movie, for fucking with my character. You know?
Yeah.
You know, not my Luke Skywalker kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, not my Leon Kennedy. But as just a regular viewer of a movie, I'm thinking he's a dope.
Yeah, that's well, because I was going to push that further and say, you mentioned how all your favorites are here, right? And that is true. Like, they're all here, baby, except for Barry Burton. But pretty much everybody else is here. Oh no, Rebecca's gone too. Well, they were the original script, but guess what? $40 million got cut to 25, so we had to lose some characters. But pretty much every other fucking character is here, right? Yep. Except Chris, who's the main character?
All of them.
There isn't one, right? Yeah, all of them. That's the problem. Like, right? So that's the thing too, where the thing about the Alice character is, like, through 6 movies, we had a character to hang our hat on and go along a journey with. And this movie never gives us a central character. It seems like it's going to be Claire, but then she will vanish for the movie for long stretches. And you're like, well, okay, I guess now I'm with Chris, but I'm not that interested in Chris either, for reasons we'll get into. And then you're stuck with Leon, and it's like, okay, I guess Leon is supposed to be the comic relief, but because he's comic relief and because he's a bozo, I don't really want him to be my main character either, right? So it's like there's just no central character. So that's a problem as well, yeah. Like,
I guess I'm going to ask you who's the villain. We kind of know some doctor. You know? For a viewer of a movie,
why
some
is he
doctor.
the villain? If I haven't played the game, what's the deal with Dr. Birkin? I understand. You know what? I go, when the movie starts, and I go, oh, I guess I know he's the villain because Neil McDonough's playing him.
Yeah, sure.
But why is he the villain? What is he doing? What are his plans? What is he trying to accomplish? You know? Yeah.
And then also, as a video game, you know who Wesker is. So you're like, okay, Wesker's the villain. Yeah. But in the movie, he's not the villain. He is part of the team who, I guess, double crosses them at some point. That's unclear. And maybe the villain later on in the franchise, if we ever get another movie made. It's like, you're giving me all these characters in name only, and then you're fucking with it. Like, even Jill Valentine, like, I guess in the, like in the movie, she's like a reckless wild card, you know, which she's not in the games. Claire is a conspiracy theorist in the movie, which is not in the games. It's so strange to give me all my fan favorites and then bastardize them all.
Yeah.
Like, they don't even get one character right, which is crazy to me.
I'd say the one who's closest to being right is probably just Chris, because Chris is kind of just a one-note hero in the games too.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
fair.
So I'd say that's probably the closest, yeah.
But, like, that's it?
Yeah.
I know we don't want to blame Johannes Roberts, and we've said that a couple times now. He did write the script, so, like,
Yeah, true.
I know he got screwed in the pre and post and all in between, but he still wrote a lot of these lines. So
yeah, that's true. And he did cast these actors too, so I guess
totally.
Yeah.
Like the Jill Valentine is played by Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Dude, you want to think? You know what?
What's
something
happening?
funny? You want to know something funny? Is
Sure.
I want to hear the ultimate indication of how unmemorable of a character Ghost is from 2 Marvel movies. Is
one very recent one, by the way.
One very recent one that I just watched for the first time recently and actually liked quite a bit. Like I was like, oh man, I actually really like Thunderbolts. And yet I watched this entire movie. It got to the credits and I went, why does that name sound familiar to me? And I looked it up and I was like, oh, that was Ghost. I watched this whole movie with her and I forgot that she even played that character. Yeah,
that is so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's like, I guess not a hard one to talk about because it's just kind of such a mess.
Well, I think the things we've talked about are the things I want to keep talking about because I'm still just like kind of baffled by some of these changes. Like you mentioned earlier that when they cut the story down on him, right, and he was forced to kind of make these streamlined changes. Let's get into. I want to talk about this story element because they decided they had to change something to like streamline the story now that they were like condensing it. And one of the things was like we want to have Claire and Chris have this like connection to Birkin from when they were
laziest
kids.
attempt at drama you can possibly do.
Yeah, like I never like Chris and Claire do not need that initial childhood connection to Umbrella and Raccoon City.
No.
But also, that connection just doesn't make any sense. So we see that they grew up in an orphanage, the Raccoon City orphanage, which for some reason the sign for Raccoon City orphanage looks like a Toys R Us sign. I don't really understand that. But they grew up there, and as you said, like as a small girl, like Claire was constantly like visited or haunted by this like we don't know if it's a ghost or we later find out it's Lisa Trevor, but it's just it's never explained, right? Never. At some point, Birkin, who the doctor who runs the facility, he takes her away from her brother, and we learn that she basically runs away from Raccoon City, becomes this like hard ass conspiracy theorist person on the real world. Chris stays behind and becomes Birkin's like adoptive son almost, and so he joins Stars.
Never shown, by the way. Never shown. Always said not.
We
shown.
get a photoshopped picture, of course.
Brittany let out the biggest laugh.
Dude, can we sidebar? This is not exclusive to Resident Evil at all. Why, in an age where CGI can give us marvels we've never seen before, why? Every time I see a fucking Photoshop picture in a movie, why is it so bad? How has Hollywood not figured out Photoshop at all for those pictures?
And also, they didn't really age Neil McDonough at all. So it's like
they give him that great wig though.
Yeah, but they couldn't get them in the same room to just take one picture for promos. Anyway,
so he stays. So Chris stays and becomes like a Stars cop in Raccoon City, and he essentially works for Birkin. And then, so the movie is like taking place when Claire is returning to Raccoon City to kind of confront Chris and say, like, I've been talking to this guy who has worked for Umbrella. He knows what they're really doing. And then she just happens, because it's a movie, she happens to show up the same night the outbreak starts, which again, we don't know what happens. Okay, I'm just going to quickly rattle off some things that don't make sense about this, right? Well, I could go through the whole movie, but when the outbreak starts, we see Birkin at his house with his family, and he gets some call, and we don't hear the other end of the call, but he tells his family, like, we have to go. We have to leave, right?
Yeah.
So that's obviously him being told that the outbreak has started. Okay, who called him? Who made that call? We never find out.
Mr.
Right?
Umbrella.
And then, but here's the thing. But then as he's driving with his family, she's saying, like, why do we have to leave? And he's like, oh, yeah, leave. That's just what they want me to do. They're trying to destroy my work. Who's he talking about? Umbrella? I thought he was Umbrella. I thought he works for Umbrella. I thought he was like the bad guy, right? So now I'm confused, and I'm like, are they trying to make it seem like he's kind of a good guy? And then we cut to like when we catch up with him later, he is now at the Umbrella facility. He's just taking like the G virus and like trying to abscond with it. And then Wesker comes in, who we find out has been working for somebody also, and like he's secretly working for some a rival company to Umbrella. But Birkin is like, who are you working for? Wesker just never answers that question. So all these things just are not getting answered. And then like of course, Birkin becomes like tyrant. But I don't understand any of it. I don't understand who called him. I don't understand what his motivations are. It's never explained what he was doing with these kids. We find out, we get all these like flashbacks to find out that at some point he tried to like take Claire down to this like basement or something to do experiments on her, but we actually never see how that resolves. Like it's just, they take her away, but we don't see how she escaped or anything.
Well, she just ran.
Yeah, she just ran. Okay, good.
She ran.
Yeah.
But you get to see grainy footage of the Ashford twins, right?
Yes, and because I play the games, I masturbate over that. I guess.
Yeah.
That's what you want. So.
You masturbate over. So never mind.
Oh yeah, I shouldn't. I guess.
Cut that. No, it's. I agree. You go cross-eyed watching this. And I mean, listeners, I mean it. They do not answer anything. Okay. No. The only thing you guess is Birkin experimented on children from the orphanage with the G/T virus. That's it.
Yeah. You don't know why. Like, again, we don't want to keep comparing it to the Milla movies, but in the Milla movies, there was never any question about what Umbrella was trying to do or how evil Umbrella was. How do you make a Resident Evil movie called Welcome to Raccoon City, based on the first two games, say you're finally getting games right, and never bother to really explain Umbrella? or like give us like any kind of contextual idea of what they are and what they're doing and what they're up to. Because you could watch this movie and think that this is just like Birkin is like some rogue agent.
Yeah.
You get like there's nothing about it that kind of suggests Umbrella are like pulling all the strings. I guess we get a sense that they control the city, but is that a bad thing? Because all the STARS members seem to be pretty heroic, right? So like,
Totally.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess,
As well, before I forget, they also injected the STARS guys with like the antidote.
yeah.
Why?
Why? Yeah. Beyond that, like, why is it even like we're told at the beginning that this is like now it's like a ghost town, right? Because Umbrella is leaving Raccoon City, they're moving their facility somewhere else, so like there's nobody left there. Yet when we go to like the police department, there's like fucking 10 like super like powerful like cops working there still for like a ghost town, just because they want all the characters there,
Oh, exactly.
So, yeah.
What would the worst way to die be?
What?
To be swallowed whole by a snake or eaten alive by a great white shark?
You're a freak, Valentine. Plan on dying peacefully, in bed, snuggled in Wesker's big burly arms.
Yeah. Me too, brother.
What's Vickers doing here? Thought we lost the chopper with the rest of the budget cuts. Maybe he just missed us.
Oh. Fuck you. Is that right?
Guess not.
Hey!
Okay, Chief, what's this all about?
Yeah, what's with the alarm?
Well, if you all shut the hell up for a second and listen, maybe you'll find out. Honestly, I don't know.
You don't know?
That's right, Redfield, I do not know. What I do know is that Marini and Dooley are currently not answering their radios.
They're investigating a report of a body up by the Spencer mansion.
You think it's connected?
What's the Spencer mansion?
Well, as I think most of you know, Oswald Spencer was the creator of the Umbrella Corporation. And the mansion was his home until the year of his death in... What the fuck are you doing here, Leon?
You said everyone into the briefing room, so here I am.
I didn't mean you, you moron. Not you, Leon, everyone else. What if someone wanders in and there's no one behind the front desk, an old lady's looking for her cat or something?
Yeah, you're
Jesus
right.
Christ, get
You're
back
right.
there, man, and get a haircut, you goddamn hippie. It's not Woodstock.
Donald Logue is in this movie. Okay.
MVP of the movie.
Yes, MVP. Follow me along with this. Okay? Follow me along. At times, did you think he looked like and or acted like... I forgot. Okay. Remember, you know the movie Man on the Moon? Jim Carrey? And then he played... oh my God, the famous comedian. Come on.
Andy Kaufman. Are you talking about Tony Clifton?
I am talking about Tony Clifton.
I can see what you mean, but that's like kind of why he is the MVP of the movie. Like,
sure.
Donald Logue is one of those like guys. He's got like that kind of Leguizamo like quality we talked about before, where he always just pops up and you're like, okay, at least for this scene I'm gonna have Donald Logue here. And sure enough, he does keep stealing the movie, just playing this like really flustered police chief who is just like trying to get the fuck out of there without really getting too involved in any of this stuff. His scenes are the best parts for sure.
His demise, spoiler alert, is the moment I paused to give a thesis to Brittany, because that moment where they're in the orphanage, it's Claire, Leon, and Chief Irons. Chief Irons gets killed by a mutant like liquor, like like a big mutated monster, zombie monster man thing, right? You'd think for the first time in your life that you see a monster like that, that grabs your boss and rips him to fucking shreds and then lands on the ground and is running after you. You'd think you'd emote, right? You'd think you'd scream. You think you'd be scared. And I say that because, again, I hate this in movies. And especially a movie like this. You are making a horror movie, okay? You filmmaker want me, viewer, to be scared, right? Like, that's the idea. You want me to scream, to yell, to be like, oh my God, and add tension and drama to the scene. If your characters experiencing that situation aren't emoting, then what the fuck do you think I'm gonna feel like?
Yeah.
Like, I'm so tired of this. We talk about it ad nauseum for so many of these types of movies that if you make something fantastical in a non-fantastical world to non-fantastical characters, they have to emote. Please, filmmakers, anyone, please just don't forget about that. Stop.
I was having that same thought about the same characters, or at least seeing one particular character in the next scene, because this continues from what you were just talking about, because this is like, so now it's just Leon and Claire together, and who saves them from the liquor is Lisa Trevor. And as mentioned, like, Lisa Trevor is this woman who's been experimented on in this orphanage. And when we catch up with her, she is like, now she wears like a skin suit, right? She's wearing a suit made of the skin of other people. Does it look cool? Yes. Is it ever explained? No. But she like shows up in this skin suit. And okay, so I can go with you that like Claire would not react too much because she saw her as a kid, and so she's had like these interactions with her. But like Leon is just like, I guess, yeah, we should trust that. We should listen to this woman. You know, it's
unbelievable.
Like there's scenes where then like Lisa Trevor in her skin suit is like talking to Claire, and she's like, she talks like a creepy ghost lady too. She's like, and then you see like Leon in the background. He's just like, and then Claire like looks at him and he's like, yeah, I guess she's got to put a good point there. It's like, what?
Yeah, time to go.
Like, why is this guy who's like supposed to be our comic relief? He's supposed to be this bumpkin who's in over his head. They want him to be an audience surrogate, and yet he's just like, yeah, it makes sense that this like skin suit woman just saved us from a giant monster with a giant tongue. I guess I'll just roll with this. Like, yeah.
So frustrating. Frustrating. Also, what's frustrating is you get a movie in 2021 that was made after all 6 Milla movies, and you have CG that's on par or worse.
Oh yeah.
The CG budget was obviously slashed in that figure, but it's not good. The design work isn't great, and you know what? Don't reference the old, like, don't, okay. I know that there are zombie dogs in Resident Evil, okay? I know that. However, you know, filmmaker, Constantine Films, that some of the most iconic moments in the Milla movies were the zombie dogs. Like, that was like one of the most, we talked about in that episode, was the most iconic scene from the first movie is when she kicks a dog, you know, and the cubing. Now, if you're going to do that again, don't make it a horrible CG.
No.
Trying to be realistic Doberman, right? It's not even like it's so mutated that it's like needs to be CGI. You know what I mean? Like it's got that uncanny valley feel that like in the Milla movies, they just threw like some gross skin prosthetic stuff on like a real dog. And in this movie, no, you got to make it full CG, looks like a fucking MS Paint thing, and it's not scary.
Although I almost did have to laugh because when that scene started, because I was thinking during that scene about how, as you're right, because it's such an iconic moment from the first movie of Milla running up the wall and kicking that dog in midair, and I was thinking like, well, okay, they want to revisit that, and they asked themselves, well, we already had Milla, one of the all-time Hollywood, sex symbols, fight a dog. Who would be the new answer to that? Donell Logue, of course. Like that's Donell Logue is of course our answer to Milla Jovovich. But then our Claire shows up, so I guess that's what they're aiming for more. Yeah. Hey, maybe Chris, I don't know if you noticed, maybe the bad CGI though was like actually on purpose to like give this movie more of a 1998 feel. Because I don't know if you noticed this, but the movie takes place in 1998. Right. Do you know how I noticed? Oh, let me read you a list of things that are mentioned.
Did you make a list?
I'm actually going to pull this list. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. I'm pulling this list from a Letterboxd review from a user named Christian DeLeo. He did the work for me. I was going to make the list, and I found this review. But he mentions these are things that are mentioned in the movie or things that happen in the movie. They mention Blockbuster, chat rooms, Planet Hollywood. A character plays Snake on an absolute fucking brick of a cell phone while What's Up by Four Non Blondes plays in the background. A character listens to a Walkman that's blaring the song Crush by Jennifer Page. There's music from the Cardigans. We see a top-loader VHS player, a VHS tape that plays with some intense tracking, a pager, a Palm Pilot. So, yeah, that first like monologue from Donell Logue is so funny, where he's like talking to Wesker, and he's like, you got a date or something? You're gonna take her to Blockbuster, and then you get a video, and then go to dinner at Planet Hollywood. It's like, okay, we get it, movie. Jesus Christ, it's 98.
I'm sorry, Wesker. Is that important?
No, I'm good.
A new girlfriend. Huh? Maybe you could take her out to eat at Planet Hollywood. They have a new one in Catlin. Oh, they got a great salad. A little wine. Or maybe just take her back to your apartment. Rent a movie at Blockbuster, get cozy on the couch, or put on some Journey. Steve Perry's voice, what it does to a woman's heart, huh? Am I right? How's that sound?
Sounds like I might be getting laid.
But it ain't gonna happen tonight because I want you dressed in 5, all of you, and ready to fly because I want to know where the hell Bravo team is and what the fuck all those alarms are about. You got me? Come on, get moving. Go.
And I honestly don't even... I get that the games take place in 98, but like, is that like, why did they do it? Were you thinking that, was this just to like avoid the cell phone thing? Even though, I mean, we do get the Palm Pilot.
Well,
but...
I think it's literally just trying to adapt the games. Like, that's what it is. Like, they, I think September 30th is 2 months after the first game from the research. I think they're squarely just really hammering home that this is the game. These are not the Milla movies.
Except when the characters show up and start talking, then suddenly it's not the game.
Yeah.
Like, that's the weird thing, right? It's so the game. Anyway, here's Leon. Oh, that's not Leon.
No.
Like, oh, here's Claire. No. That's not Claire. So.
Yeah, here's Jill. That's not Jill.
Yeah.
They're all...
Here's
again,
Wesker. Wear his sunglasses. Oh, don't worry. We'll get there.
The game holds such a 90s aesthetic, and I like that they sort of honored that.
There's a certain charm that it brings to the movie. It definitely adds some humor where we need it, and also allows us to get away with things like no cell phones or internet on your phone, and some easy escapes for people in modern day.
My initial thing went through the 90s was playing these games, and then they've obviously grown and grown and grown. So that's the magic for me with this particular movie, is how we're bringing back that nostalgia and that Palm Pilot. I mean, I remember having little devices like that. The jeans that they put me in, it's almost like, this is how baggy we wore them 30 years ago. Jeez, things were not fitted in the 90s.
There's something about this time that adds to the terror because we don't have iPhones, we don't have the accessibilities of what we could do in the situation now, today. You're kind of on your own in a small town, and it was just a really nice touch.
At the end of the movie, I look at Brittany and I go, all these characters are name only, like no depth to them. Mm-hmm. And you know what she says? She blurts out, she's like, they barely talk to each other. Yeah. It's an hour and a half of characters walking around it, like looking at stuff, because they are also being referential to the iconography that we are as a viewer. It's very strange. Can I say 2 things I like? Okay, I think it's
I've got
time.
a couple too.
We've been shitting on it for a good 40 minutes. So let me. The ticking clock I love. Okay, so I have to say that the 6 a.m. ticking clock mechanic, I like that. I like that it kept flashing and telling me the time. I was like, okay, they got a couple more hours to go. Okay, fine. I like that. I know that's low hanging fruit, by the way, but I do like that mechanic. And I really do think that they are nailing the atmosphere. I think Johannes Roberts' visual style, you already mentioned it, but the visual style actually does look good. Yeah. The zombie makeup does look good. It looks like the old games. Like, it doesn't look like they're trying to do some Walking Dead type makeup. It does look like the games.
In fact, when they recreate that iconic, zombie turning around, the first zombie you see in the first game, it's pretty perfect. Yes, it's nostalgia like bait, but it does.
But it works. Yeah. Again, some nostalgia is fine. You know, sometimes we do go overboard saying that nostalgia is, the end of
devil, or
yeah. But sometimes it works, and I'm only human too, But I think it nails a lot of that. I do think Raccoon City does look good for what we see of it, what the budget allows us to see. It is dark. It is scary. It is a rotten character. I do think it's good there. The look to some of the characters looks pretty good, but yeah, the rest is just one big movie slammed together. You know what I mean? Like, it's just thrown together and rushed. And
I basically have the same compliments. I already mentioned I really do think Donald Logue is fun in this. He's getting to play kind of. I think that's maybe I don't know if that character's from the games or not. If that's an original character, but it's just an opportunity for Donald Logue to be fun. In a goofy movie. But yeah, anything else I'd have to say about it kind of does come down to Johannes Roberts. This is why I didn't want to come down too much. So I guess we'll say, like, Johannes Roberts, the screenwriter, we will take issue with. But Johannes Roberts, the director, I think was actually doing pretty decent work with this, given the budgetary, limitations he had.
Yeah.
He is a guy that he can construct a really cool sequence, I think, and he can definitely construct cool imagery. Some of the, like, shots of the zombies outside of the police station, outside of the gates, trying to get in. Just the way he kind of skews the camera there, and like the bizarre forced perspective, and like how they're like pushing through, and their skin is almost like tearing off as they push through. That shit was actually like really cool and like really kind of chilling looking. I love like actually the visual of like when the truck flips over and crashes, and the truck driver walks into the police station on fire with the Crush playing. That's actually pretty cool. And the other one I want to highlight is, and I think so. Here's my theory on this. I wouldn't even say this is like that groundbreaking of a theory. I'm probably not the first person to say it, but he's coming off of Strangers Prey at Night, a movie that like was pretty well regarded in the horror fandom, and in particular, everybody talked about the pool sequence where one of the kids from the family fights the strangers in this like neon lit pool while Total Eclipse of the Heart plays. Right. And like that's the standout sequence of that movie. And I got a sense because everyone loved that scene, because that's the scene everyone talked about. Johannes Roberts is like, that's my thing now. I'm gonna be like the needle drop pop music cool sequence guy. So he does that again in this one, where there's a cool like scene with Donald Logue pulling up to like a Raccoon City like checkpoint, and it turning into this like gunfight. But the entire thing is from the perspective if we're in the car with Donald Logue. The camera never leaves his car, and it's set to "Any Way You Want It" by Journey. And I was like, okay, so this is like, if this is Johannes Roberts' trademark, I'm kind of here for it. These like pop song set cool sequences. So yeah, like every once in a while the movie suddenly comes to life with those moments, and you're like, oh yeah, this is like kind of fun. And then whenever it gets back to the story or lack thereof, you're like, oh yeah, now I remember what the problem is here. Yeah,
I really like that scene too with Donald Logue. I will say it did remind me of another issue, one of many. Okay, I've even swore a lot in this episode here. Actually, more than I usually do, to be honest. I know I swear, but I've dropped an F-bomb a few times now in this episode. I try not to. But this movie, a lot of the time, felt very like your worst kind of rated R improv.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and I felt like in that scene, I love Donald Logue, and he's got to freak out because of like all the gunshots and stuff, and get around the checkpoint and escape and live. And I'm sure Johannes Roberts was like, okay, freak out, like just I'll leave it to you. Do what you do best or whatever. And Donald Logue is just like F-bomb, F-bomb, F-bomb. And I feel like this movie does that cringy F-bomb drop.
It
like,
does, yeah.
You know what I'm getting at, right? Like when it's just totally, uninspired, an uninspired R rating thing.
There was a point, I think there was a point that was only about like 10 or so minutes in the movie where I was like, wow, Claire has like said like fuck a lot already. Like they're like trying very hard to like,
trying to be
these
crass.
Characters are so badass, aren't they?
100%. So like that was starting to get on my nerves.
Also,
especially because there's no depth to anybody anyway, so that didn't help. So anyway,
I mentioned the 10 minutes thing. There's something else I started to take note of, and if you watch this movie with subtitles on, I just want to point out that if you watch this movie with subtitles on, you will get a subtitle that says ominous music plays 8 times and eerie music plays 5 times. So I just thought that was important too.
Okay, no, that's good. Good to know. Okay, let's just. I think. I mean, I'm kind of done with talking about the movie proper. I kind of want to talk just about the Easter egg at the end. Oh, not the Easter egg, but like.
Wait, you don't want to talk about like Robbie Amell or K.S. Scoladelario or
the girl from Crawl?
You know, when you said that last time, the reason I was so taken aback when you said that was because of your Canadian accent. You said Crawl, but I heard Crawl, that like 80s fantasy movie, and I was like, I don't know who the woman is in that movie, but okay. But yeah, K.S. Scaladerio. I actually know her. I do love Crawl. I think we both love Crawl.
We do. Yes,
fucking rules.
Yeah.
I also like the Maze Runner movies, and she's in those. I got really nothing against her. Liz pointed out as we were watching the movie, she was like, Liz was like, I think they cast her because she kind of looks like Milla. I could kind of see what she meant in like some moments. I kind of got more of like more of a Emma Stone vibe from her a little bit. But again, I'm not like really holding this against her. And then like Robbie Amell, it's so funny because like I only wanted to bring him up because he is the cousin of Stephen Amell, the star of Arrow.
Yeah.
Except I was pretty sure they were brothers. A mistake I thought was true until roughly 30 seconds before this episode started recording.
I thought that was true. I thought that was true up until 5 seconds ago in this episode.
I just on his Wikipedia page it says they're cousins, so that is news to both of us tonight.
Wow.
Yeah,
interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. He is great. I'll give him this. He's pretty bland and one note and very CW-ish in this, which makes sense. Where I first saw him was on The Flash, but he's actually great in the Babysitter movies. I wish he could be as good in this as he was in those. Yeah. Right? He's like one of the funniest characters in those.
Imagine Samara Weaving was in this movie.
Well, I don't want her fucking pulled into this shit. So I mean, I know you're saying like obviously, but yeah, keep the other than Donald Logue, keep the actors I like away from this.
Yeah, no, I like Kaya Scodelario. She everything I've seen her in, she's just very solid. So I don't have much bad to say.
It's not.
It's
that
just the
these actors,
characterizations. I think.
I guess to be fair, it's not that these actors are bad. It's just that none of them are good enough to rise above this material.
Sorry,
you know,
you're just gonna say that. It's not that they're bad; they're just not good.
Well, I kind of am saying that, right? But what I'm saying is like. We're not when we said earlier, like, oh my god, the acting, right? But we should point out these aren't like it's not like Tommy Wiseau is in this movie. Right?
No,
these are like,
no.
These are just like those fucking like, sometimes I say a movie has like the stink of Canada, and I know these aren't necessarily Canadian actors, even though this movie was filmed in Canada.
It was all
but
filmed in
like,
Canada.
Yeah. But these are just like these are just like a lot of them are just like those kind of like standard actors who get these roles, and then if there's nothing, this is the thing. It's the difference between like a really good actor and like a fine actor. Is that they're like, I guess I'm just supposed to be here to be sexy, right? This is trying to be a sexy Resident Evil movie. That's kind of what I meant about the CW thing,
Sure.
And that's fine for whatever. But like, if there's nothing on the page, you want an actor who'll bring like a lot of personality to it, and none of these actors have that capability. I would actually say like the one who's doing it the most is Leon, because he just kind of has like a character thing to play, like the idea of being a bozo. Just the problem is that makes him like not very fun to root for. So
no. You start to question why he even has the job.
Yeah,
it's like a whole thing.
But yes, we should get to that great Easter egg. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've seen this movie before, and the whole time I'm thinking, man, I swear Wesker gets his sunglasses at some point.
It's so funny because we were watching the movie, and like when I actually said to Liz, I was like, if he doesn't fucking wear sunglasses by the end of this movie, I'm gonna lose my shit. That's a direct quote from me watching it.
Yeah, and at the okay, but hold on though. because okay, so the movie ends and Wesker gets away somehow, or he dies. They kill him. Supposedly they kill him.
Can we briefly say, you alluded to this earlier, but just to set up the context for this. So he is a member of the STARS team. He is like Jill and Chris's like partner as he is in the game.
A possible love triangle that's going on that is not really defined as with everything else.
Yeah. And then you alluded to this. I'm glad you did, because I think we should just talk even more about it just for a moment. Where when as they are sent off to investigate or find their other team, right? They are Bravo team looking for Alpha team. As the original game started, he is sent to this like Palm Pilot that is giving him information the rest of the team doesn't have.
Right.
And he's like looking at it, he's like, oh my god. And then later we actually hear him say like, she was telling the truth. Again, we never find out who he means by she. He just says she was telling the truth. And then he like knows to sit down at a piano and play Moonlight Sonata, which opens a secret door. Again, game reference, as everything is in this movie. Mm-hmm. And then Jill's like, what are you doing? And he's like, she was telling me this information. And then she's just like, you betrayed us. And I'm just like, what? What's the betrayal? I don't understand. And then like when she sees Chris later, she's like, Wesker fucking betrayed us. And I'm like, what did he do? Can you explain to me like what the betrayal was? It's never made clear. It's just like we find out that he was sent on like a secret mission within the mission where he was trying to get this like T virus or G virus and deliver it to someone else. But how is that betraying the other members? He even makes the point to say he was going to try and get them out with him.
Yeah, so, maybe, which is obviously lost in translation in the movie, but maybe it was his idea to get them to the mansion. Right?
And to just get killed? Palm Pilot, I think he was given the Palm Pilot after they'd already been given the mission to go to the mansion. Like, Donald Logue tells him to go to the mansion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
Is Donald Logue is Umbrella. Yeah, I've seen this movie twice. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, good. So anyways, they shoot him and kill him.
Yeah. Okay, they shoot him and kill him, right? The city implodes or whatever, or at least the mansion does. It doesn't really show the city imploding.
Oh, and Liz would be mad at me if I didn't mention how bad she felt for that cow that we see. The cow that gets blown into the ether.
I agree. There was no reason.
It was surprisingly mean-spirited.
Yeah. It was. It was very strange. So anyway, then our heroes walk out of the mine or whatever, the train, subway, whatever, underground station, heroically, that they've won the day, even though nothing's been revealed and they don't know anything that's going on. Cut to directed by Johannes Roberts. Okay. Then the credits are going, and then it cuts back, and Wesker, he's alive.
Yeah,
but he's also
wakes up in a body bag.
But he's also blind. Okay, so I want to bring that up. He's blind, and he's like, I can't see. Then one Ada Wong walks up to him because she's in the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
He can't see, and he's like, my eyes are all fucked up or whatever. And then Ada's like, here, or whatever, gives him sunglasses, which cures his blindness.
well,
what's that about?
I think it's when he says like something. I don't know if he's supposed to be blind or he says something like it's too bright or something. So that's why he needs this thing.
Do you think do you think it's a brightness thing? Like maybe I heard blind and bright.
I think it is brightness, but either way, it's just funny because like.
Hey listeners, I just want to jump in here real quick. It's Chris, of course. As you just heard, Trev is stating that I have misremembered the quote and the scene with Wesker. And my interpretation from the scene is that these sunglasses has cured his blindness. And Trev is saying I'm wrong because he thinks he's always right. So instead, I just think I'll play the clip right here.
You're awake at last.
Where am I?
That doesn't matter.
I don't understand. I thought I was dead.
You were.
My eyes. What happened to my eyes? I can't see.
It's a side effect. One of the things we had to do to bring you back.
Got him. All right, back to the show.
I think it is brightness, but either way, it's just funny because like it is doing that ultimate thing of like, well, he wears sunglasses, right? And yes, we could have just had him wearing sunglasses from the beginning, like he was supposed to be. But instead, we think you're gonna fucking lose your mind in the theater if we show Wesker put his sunglasses on for the first time. Like the movie treats it as like that is the post-credit scene. Like they're like, oh shit, Wesker's got his sunglasses, except. The movie has forgotten to play Wesker as like villainous the whole movie, and even at this point, he still seems like he's like so confused by what's going on. I'm just like, he seems like kind of a good guy. In his dying moments, he's like apologizing to Chris, and like they're feeling bad. Like this is like a very weird version of Wesker. Also, I also just want to. My favorite thing about that post-credit scene is you mentioned that it's Ada Wong, and we know that's Ada Wong because she walks up to Wesker and gives him the sunglasses, and then says like, "We have work to do," and he has known her at this point now for roughly 10 seconds. And he goes, "You never told me your name."
Yeah, of course.
And she said, Ada Wong. Well, that's not what you would say to someone you just met. Why would she? Yeah, you never told me your name. Yeah, I've said 3 things to you so far. Like, what doesn't? Yeah,
that
Again,
happens.
Great screenwriting.
That happens throughout the movie too. Even when like Jill, she says, "Hi, I'm Jill Valentine."
Yeah.
I think when we met at Comic-Con, I had never said my full name. I just said, "Hey, yeah, my name's Chris." like that's how people talk. But no. Anyway, does this deserve sequels?
I'm gonna say no.
Wow. Really dying on a hill.
I know. I know I'm going to shock you there, but yeah, I know. So Johannes Roberts did talk about how he was like excited to adapt some of the later games, and his plan was to kind of get into Code Veronica and everything. But no, I think like you just watch this movie and like I guess you can kind of tell what the sequels would be, right? Just more of this, probably just jamming more games into like one movie. I don't want to see more of this cast necessarily. Again, I don't really have anything against the actors, but like I don't want to see any more of these interpretations of the characters. So no, I can't say this. I'm glad this movie died on the vine as it was. So.
Yeah, same here. And it didn't hurt the Milla movies.
No,
you know what I mean? Like
no. In fact, it actually makes them look better, right?
I think so.
And
too.
I think that plays into it too. I wanted to say this earlier because you asked like what was when this came out, why was it maybe like kind of dumped out, and why did people seem so dismissive of it immediately? And I honestly think, again, we talked about this with the last thing, but like anything that is like critically shut on for a while, not anything, but a lot of this critically shut on for a while, it just needs to stand the test of time. And I feel like by the time we did get to the final chapter, I think more people would come around to being like, you know what, I actually I'm going to admit that I like these Milla movies. They're fun, right? And I
Yeah,
think you
yeah.
even saw they never became critical darlings, but I think you saw more critics in like the nerdosphere willing to say like, yeah, we know they're kind of schlock, but they're fun schlock. We're enjoying this series.
Mm-hmm.
So like by the time this movie came along, it was actually kind of like people were like, we actually like we liked those Milla movies. We miss that, and we don't really need this. And the blandness and like, you know, lack of identity and vision for this movie just makes those movies seem even better in retrospect. So
Yeah.
it's almost like a good thing for the Milla movies that this exists to show like, yeah, see, this is exactly what Paul W.S. Anderson was trying to avoid, even though this is what people thought they wanted.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's even proven more with the shitty Netflix show too. Like, I didn't give that
only
the
seen
time
clips,
of day.
but yeah.
Yeah. And it seems awful. And obviously it was canceled. And, this is an interesting IP and where it's going to go. And especially because now they have like a really great filmmaker attached with Zach
Yes.
Kreger. We talked earlier a couple episodes ago about weapons and some Matrix moments that I like to bring up. But Zach Kreger signed on to make his new Resident Evil movie in January of this year. Signed on in January, and then he's making it, I think, currently or about to start filming. But it's starring Austin Abrams, and Mikey Madison is in the movie.
I don't
Is
think
that a
that
rumor?
ever. No, that was a rumor. Yeah. I don't
Okay,
think
that was a
happened.
rumor. Okay,
I
okay.
do know it's Austin Abrams, and I believe Paul Walter Hauser is also confirmed.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Yeah. So the rumor I've heard, again, this is just a rumor. I don't know if it's true. But the rumor I've heard, because he's talked very, you know, when he signed on, people were very concerned. There was like a concern of like, oh my God, they already, like the barbarian weapons guy is already getting sucked up into IP world.
Yeah.
And I read an interview with him where he was very, you know, he's very much made the point. He's like, he's like, I get that concern, but he's like, I'm not doing like, he basically said, he's like, I'm not doing an adaptation of the game. I just love that game. He said he's never seen any other movies. Yeah, I don't know if I believe him. You know, he said he hasn't seen any of them, and he said he's like it's not based on those. It's just I love that game, and I want to try and recreate the feeling I had playing the game. And like the rumor I've heard is that his movie is just kind of this like singular story about like a regular guy delivery driver and the night he has in Raccoon City, as like the game is kind of taking place around him, right? Like he's just a delivery driver, and then a zombie outbreak starts in Raccoon City. And I'm like, that actually sounds kind of fucking brilliant. You know, that sounds like such a great way to approach it. So I hope that's true. And actually, after seeing Austin Abrams in Weapons, thinking about how funny he could be in that part, you know, so that sounds like there's some potential there for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm interested. I'm not so set on it being a home run, just purely because there's a little bit of elements of that in this movie too. If it wasn't just full of pre-existing characters, you know, like Claire stumbling upon the outbreak, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm interested. I'm gonna see it. Like, I mean, this movie hasn't turned me off of the IP. But Zach Kreger has really reeled me back in. You know what I mean? Like, not that I'm against it. The Milla movies I hold in higher regard, but this at least they have a genuine filmmaker behind it.
Yeah.
We'll see what Constantine allows him to do. Again, it's early days, right? You know, Johannes Roberts had the same mantra of, well, do what you want to do and adapt these games, and then they fucked them. So
yeah, I mean, I would say Zach Kreger probably has a little bit more clout to throw his weight around right now than Johannes Roberts ever did. So yeah, I think you'd be smart to just let Kreger do his thing, but we'll see.
Yeah, I will never. Studios have a lot of power.
Hollywood is littered with the you know, plenty of examples of people who should have been allowed to do their own thing, of course, not being able to.
But
so,
Hollywood gun Hollywood, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. So hopefully that's good.
Yeah.
It comes out September 2026, so almost a full year from now it'll be out. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we won't have to talk about it.
Yeah, which we just mean by that we mean hopefully it'll be actually very successful and like a good movie. Yeah. Yes.
Well, listeners, I hope you enjoyed our October Halloween Fest Trick Our Resident Trevel. We technically talked about 7 movies, so that's, you know, we don't ask you for much, but that's good bang for your buck in my opinion.
You can't say you don't get your money's worth for this
100%.
free podcast.
Yes, 100%. So yeah, that was great. This one was a lot of fun. I was, I guess, not worried because the movie sucks, but I think what got us to do such a good job, not to pat us on the back or anything, but doing the success to series right before this was kind of a stroke of genius for us to come up with. So
this would have been like a real bummer of a movie for me if I had watched it without the context of watching it right after those other 6. And yes, it is kind of still a bummer to watch those 6 that I love and then watch this and be like, ugh, you know, but again, it's interesting to contrast the two and see how, again, it's not always the best thing to just say, let's just do the game, you know, or
Totally.
It's like sometimes you want to get a little more wild.
Totally. So we're moving on. New month, new theme, new me, new you. You know the man, you know Russell Crowe? Hey, we mentioned him already today. Oh my God, we mentioned him in the, Virtuosity? What'd you say?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, he's the star of Virtuosity. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You didn't even mean to do that, did you?
No, but it did. The thought did cross my mind as I mentioned him, though.
Okay. Well, Russell Crowe, he's an actor, right?
Uh-huh.
And there's a movie called The Crow, right?
Yeah.
Not about him. Which would be a pretty. They should make that movie, though.
They should, yeah.
Just littered with like phones, you know. Okay, so they made a remake of the Brandon Lee movie The Crow back in 2024, so only a year ago. Mm-hmm. And then Russell Crowe is not in that film, but he was in a different movie.
You following us? You following along with us?
Okay. We're doing Crowvember.
Yes. Long story short, November is Crowvember here.
Yeah, November's Crowvember at Failure to Franchise.
So run with us here. We're looking at the Russell Crowe film Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World.
Yeah. And then after that, The Crow from 2024.
Yes.
So stupid. Okay, so yeah,
2 movies I'm sure are very similar.
Yes.
You know,
but there's a through line, right?
Yes.
So we got there.
It might be our most tangential, lightest through line ever, but you can't say it's not there, you know.
Dude, I'm looking at the ones we have coming up, like for another year. But because again, listeners, we plan this.
We do.
We genuinely have it planned all the way to next year's summer surprise, so July.
Yeah.
So we got themes for January, February, March, April, May, June. Wow, look at us, idiots.
Yep.
Anyway, okay.
Any of them as strong as Crowvember? Maybe not, but we'll see. You know.
This one was this was a stroke of genius. Okay. Yeah. Nothing will beat Mark Wahlberg and the Yucky Bunch.
Yeah.
I think that is my pièce de résistance.
Yeah. That's you have that. I have Milla Jovovich. We both have our high water marks. But
Totally. Yeah. So very, very good stuff. So Crowvember, Master and Commander, November 4th. The Crow, November 18th. Tune in at F2F Pod. That's at F2, the number 2F Pod on all the socials. Like us there, like us everywhere. Rate, review, whatever you do. A star rating would be great. A stars rating, stars unit.
There you go. Stars.
I'm gonna clip that out and just like play it in so many different ways.
That's me auditioning for Nemesis in the next Resident Evil movie.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like your chances. And join the tribe. Hit that subscribe. Uh-huh. I never want to forget that one. Anything else?
No.
Okay, time to go.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, this movie took it out of me, man. I don't got anything else. My energy's been sapped.
Yeah. Welcome to Raccoon City.
There you go.
Stars, 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 stars.